Chosen ones. This is for those who have always sensed something different about their place in the world. Not in an arrogant way, not in a way that seeks superiority, but in a quiet, undeniable knowing that the rules of social engagement seem to operate differently around you. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift before anyone even noticed you were there? Have you ever spoken a simple truth and watched as the atmosphere changed? Not because you were trying to be provocative, but simply because your words carried a weight you didn't intentionally place upon them? This isn't about ego. This isn't about believing you're better than anyone else. This is about recognizing a pattern that has followed you throughout your life. People watch you. They remember you. They talk about you when you leave. And the strangest part? You're not even trying. Research in social psychology suggests that humans form impressions within milliseconds of encountering someone new. We're wired to make rapid judgments about threat, status, and trustworthiness. But what we're exploring here goes far beyond the standard metrics of social perception. This is about something deeper, an energetic signature that some people carry without ever knowing they possess it. If you've ever been told you're intimidating when you were simply being quiet, or mysterious when you were just minding your own business, or intense when you were merely present, this exploration is for you. We're going to unpack the 12 reasons why all eyes drift toward you, why you occupy mental real estate in people's minds long after interactions end, and why this seemingly burdensome attention is actually evidence of something profound. Let's begin. You are the person people think they understand, until they don't. There's a particular quality to your presence that invites curiosity without ever fully satisfying it. People approach you with assumptions, with frameworks they've used to categorize everyone else in their lives. They think they've found your box, your label, your predictable pattern. And then you say something or do something, or simply exist in a way that shatters their entire construction. This isn't because you're intentionally elusive. You're not playing games or holding back information as a power move. You're simply multidimensional in a world that prefers flatness. Most people curate themselves for easy consumption. They offer the highlights, the digestible versions, the carefully edited personas that fit neatly into other people's expectations. You don't do that. You show up as you are, which means you show up as someone who contains contradictions, depths, and dimensions that don't fit a single narrative. One day you're light and playful. The next you're contemplative and serious. You can be both fiercely independent and deeply connected. You can hold strong opinions while remaining genuinely open to being wrong. To people who need others to be predictable, this is deeply unsettling. They can't get a handle on it. They can't predict your responses or anticipate your next move. And because they can't control what they can't predict, you linger in their minds long after you've left. The irony? You're not even thinking about them. While they're spinning mental energy trying to solve the puzzle of who you are, you're simply living your life. Focus on your purpose, your growth, your peace. You become an unsolvable riddle to people who didn't even realize they were being handed a riddle at all. This is the first mark of someone who commands attention without seeking it. You cannot be easily consumed, and in a culture of consumption, that makes you unforgettable. Here's something you probably noticed. People try to compete with you. They turn your existence into a comparison, a measuring stick, a benchmark they need to exceed. And you're not even aware there was a game to begin with. This is one of the most disorienting dynamics you create in others. Most people navigate the world through constant comparison. Am I ahead? Am I falling behind? How do I stack up against that person? These are the silent questions running beneath countless social interactions. But you don't operate that way. Your metrics are internal. Your goals are personal. Your progress is measured against who you were yesterday, not against anyone else's trajectory. When people try to compete with you, and you don't engage, something fascinating happens. They're left in a psychological vacuum. They've geared up for a race, and you're not even on the track. They prepare for battle, and you're tending your own garden. This doesn't make them back down. Often, it makes them try harder. They'll subtly showcase achievements, name drop, highlight their wins, all designed to provoke a reaction, to pull you into a comparison game where they feel equipped to win. And when you still don't bite, when you genuinely don't seem to register their efforts as relevant to your existence, they're forced to confront something uncomfortable. Your lack of participation exposes the emptiness of the game itself. They realize, perhaps unconsciously, that even if they beat you by whatever metric they've invented, it means nothing because you weren't playing. Your validation was never on the table. Your respect was never something they could earn through outperforming you. This is quietly devastating to people whose entire sense of self rests on external comparison. And it's not cruel, it's simply honest. You're not refusing to compete out of arrogance. You're refusing because competition with others has never been your driving force. You're too focused on your own becoming to worry about anyone else's pace. Watch how people react when things fall apart. Watch the panic, the blame shifting, the impulsive decisions made from fear. Now watch yourself. When pressure mounts, when chaos descends, when everything that was stable suddenly isn't, you become still. Not cold, not detached, but still. There's a centeredness in you that doesn't make sense to people who haven't cultivated their own inner anchor. They look at you in crisis and wonder what you know that they don't. This isn't because you're unfeeling. You experience stress, fear, and uncertainty like any human being. But somewhere along your journey, you developed a different relationship with difficulty. You learned that panic never solved anything. You discovered that most crises contain within them the seeds of transformation, if you can stay present enough to see them. So when others spiral, you breathe. When others react, you respond. When others let the storm dictate their movements, you find a still point at the center and operate from there. This quality unnerves people. It makes them feel exposed in their own chaos. They look at your calm and suddenly feel the full weight of their own inability to regulate. They wonder why they're falling apart while you're holding steady. And in that wondering, they project all kinds of meaning onto you. You must have inside information. You must be immune to pain. You must not care as much as they do. None of this is true. You just learned something they haven't yet learned. The storm passes faster when you stop fighting it. The wave settles sooner when you stop thrashing. Your calm isn't absence of feeling. It's presence of perspective. And that perspective makes you someone people instinctively turn toward when things get hard. Even as it makes them uncomfortable with their own reactions. You become an anchor in their chaos. A reference point for what stability looks like, and whether they thank you for it or resent you for it. They never forget it. Here's a hard truth about being the kind of person who commands attention. People secretly wait for you to fail. Not everyone, not consciously. But there's a phenomenon psychologists call tall poppy syndrome. The desire to see those who stand taller cut down to size. Your progress, your growth, your forward momentum. These things reflect back to people what they're not doing with their own lives. Your light, simply by existing, casts shadows on their stagnation. So they wait. They watch you to stumble, the misstep, the moment when life finally humbles you the way they believe you deserve to be humbled. They've created a narrative in their minds. You're due for a fall. Your success can't last. Eventually, you'll be brought back down to their level. And then you fall, because life falls on everyone. Because no trajectory is a straight line up. Because challenges, setbacks, and failures are universal. But here's where you break their script. you don't stay down. While they expect the fall to end you, to prove that your success was flimsy and your strength was facade, you do something they didn't anticipate. You use the fall. You mine it for lessons. You let it refine you instead of define you. And when you rise again, not back to where you were, but higher, stronger, wiser, you force them to rewrite their entire narrative about you. This isn't a one-time pattern. It's the rhythm of your life. Setback, lesson, rise. Setback, deeper lesson, higher rise. Each time you're knocked down, you come back with something a knockdown couldn't take from you. Experience, wisdom, resilience. To the people watching, this is both inspiring and infuriating. You become living proof that failure isn't final, that falling isn't the end. And that proof is uncomfortable for people who've used the fear of failure as an excuse to never fully try. Your resilience is a mirror they'd rather not look into, because it shows them what's possible, and that means it shows them what they've been avoiding. Every time you rise, you chip away at their comfort zone. Every comeback is a question they can't answer. If they can do that, why aren't I moving forward? There's a difference between seeking attention and commanding presence. You embody that difference. The attention seeker is easy to spot. They're loud where volume isn't needed. They perform where authenticity would serve better. They fish for compliments, angle for recognition, and measure their worth in external reactions. Their energy is centrifugal, spinning outward, desperate to be seen. Your energy is centripetal, pulling inward, grounded, self-contained. You're not performing because you're not seeking. You're simply being, and that being carries a weight that performance never can. People feel this immediately. They might not articulate it, but they register that you're not asking anything of them. You don't need their approval to feel worthy. You don't need their attention to feel seen. You don't need their validation to know you're enough. This lack of need is paradoxically magnetic. Think about it. When someone genuinely doesn't need anything from you, you're free to actually be with them. There's no transaction happening beneath the surface. No unspoken contract. No subtle manipulation. Just presence, clean and simple. In a world saturated with hidden agendas and social currency exchanges, this is breathtakingly rare. People relax around you, even as they remain slightly in awe of you. They sense that you're not going to ask them to fill any holes in your psyche, because those holes don't exist. You've done your own work. You've built your own foundation. You come to relationships, all relationships, whole rather than searching. This wholeness is what commands respect without demanding it. You don't posture or plead. You don't inflate or diminish. You simply are, fully and unapologetically. And that fullness is so uncommon that people can't look away. Here's something you probably experienced, but never fully understood. Around you, people's masks start to slip. It's not that you're attacking anyone or trying to expose them. You're not playing therapist or calling anyone out. You're just being yourself, genuine, unguarded, real. And that simple authenticity creates a pressure that pretenses can't withstand. Most people move through life behind carefully constructed facades. They've learned which faces to wear in which settings. They've developed social armor designed to protect their vulnerabilities and project an image they believe will be accepted. These masks become so habitual that people forget they're wearing them. Then you show up. You, with your refusal to play social games. You, with your comfort in your own skin. You, with your unwillingness to pretend interest you don't feel or offer approval you don't mean. And suddenly, the masks feel heavy. The armor feels conspicuous. The performance feels exhausting. People around you face an uncomfortable choice. Keep performing and feel the gap between your authenticity and their act, or drop the mask and risk being seen as they really are. Some choose the latter and find it liberating. Your presence gives them permission to stop pretending, to exhale, to exist without the constant pressure of impression management. These people become drawn to you because around you, they can finally rest from the exhausting work of being someone they're not. Others choose the former and find it unbearable. They double down on their masks, performing harder, pretending more intensely, and feeling the hollowness of it all the more acutely because your presence won't let them forget what real looks like. These people may avoid you, resent you, or speak about you with strange ambivalence. Neither response is about you. Both are about the mirror you hold up simply by existing as yourself. You didn't ask to be anyone's reflection, but your authenticity has a ripple effect, forcing everyone in your orbit to confront the gap between who they're showing and who they actually are. Manipulators hate one thing above all else: someone who won't stay and play. You probably noticed that certain people try to control you. They test your boundaries, probe your weaknesses, attempt to maneuver you into positions that serve them. Maybe it's subtle. Guilt trips disguised as concern, favors framed as generosity, but weighted with obligation. Maybe it's overt. Demands, ultimatums, power plays dressed in urgency. In either case, their strategy depends on one thing: your continued participation. They need you to stay in the game, to engage, to defend yourself, to negotiate, to argue, to try to prove your position. As long as you're in the arena, they have leverage. You don't give it to them. When someone tries to control you, you don't fight, you leave. Not dramatically, not with door slamming and speeches. You simply withdraw your energy. You become unavailable for the game they're trying to play. You state your boundary calmly, and then you enforce it by no longer being present for their attempts to cross it. This is devastating to control-oriented people. They're prepared for resistance. They're prepared for anger, defensiveness, or attempts to win them over. They're not prepared for calm, clean, quiet departure. They're not prepared for someone who values their peace more than they value the relationship. Your exit leaves them holding nothing. All the manipulation tactics, all the psychological leverage, all the carefully constructed dynamics, they crumble because you're no longer there to participate in them. It's like trying to play chess against someone who simply left the table. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. You understand that some dynamics can be fixed, only exited. You know that your presence is a gift, not an obligation. And when that gift is respected, you reclaim it. Not as punishment, but as protection. People who try to control you learn something unforgettable. You cannot be held where you don't choose to stay. And that lesson stays with them long after you've gone. You're soft where people expect hardness, and hard where they expect softness. This unpredictability unnerves them. Most people operate in categories. They've decided that strength looks one way, firm, unyielding, perhaps a little cold. They've decided that vulnerability looks another way, open, tender, perhaps a little weak. These categories help them navigate social interactions by giving them clear expectations. You break the categories entirely. In one moment, you're deeply empathetic, listening without judgment, holding space for someone's pain, offering warmth that feels like shelter. People lean into this version of you, feel safe with this version of you. They think they understand you now. You're the compassionate one, the understanding one, the one who gets it. And then something shifts. A boundary gets crossed. A value gets compromised. A line gets approached that shouldn't be crossed. And suddenly, the warmth doesn't disappear, but it develops edges. You're still kind, but you're immovable. Still caring, but absolutely clear about what you will and won't accept. This combination, strength wrapped in softness, softness backed by steel, confuses people who need others to be one thing consistently. They can't predict which version of you they'll encounter because they don't understand that you contain both. They can't manipulate you into positions you don't want to occupy because they never know which aspect of you will show up when they push. What they don't realize is that this isn't inconsistency, it's integration. You've done the internal work to hold both your compassion and your boundaries, your tenderness and your strength. You're not one or the other depending on mood. You're both always, with the discernment to know which aspect needs to lead in any given situation. This integration is rare. Most people are fragmented, their soft parts unprotected, their hard parts unsoftened. You've woven yours together into something whole, and that wholeness makes you impossible to categorize, predict, or control. Watch the average person navigate social media, workplace dynamics, or even casual conversation. Watch how much of their energy goes towards securing approval, the carefully curated posts, the strategic agreements, the subtle fishing for compliments, the way they shape-shift to fit whoever they're with. Now watch yourself. You don't do that, not because you're above it, not because you're judging those who do, but because it genuinely doesn't occur to you to seek validation externally. Your sense of worth isn't located in other people's reactions. It's located in something internal, something you built through years of self-reflection, self-acceptance, and self-trust. To most people, this is incomprehensible. They've been taught since childhood that worth is awarded by others. Good grades earn teacher approval. Good behavior earns parental approval. Good looks earn social approval. Good performance earns professional approval. The entire structure of modern life reinforces the message. Your value is determined externally. You've somehow escaped that programming. Not entirely. No one does entirely. But enough that external validation feels optional rather than essential. You notice when people approve, but you don't need it. You register when people disapprove, but it doesn't define you. This independence baffles people. They test it, sometimes unconsciously, by offering or withholding approval to see if they can move you. When you remain unmoved, not defined, just steady, they don't know what to do. Their primary tool for influencing others doesn't work on you. Some find this frustrating. Others find it freeing. Many find it both. But everyone finds it memorable. You become the person who couldn't be bought with approval, who couldn't be manipulated through the need to belong. And in a world where belonging is the ultimate currency, your self-containment is the rarest wealth of all. People pride themselves on being able to read others. They've developed social intuition, pattern recognition, the ability to size someone up within minutes. They walk into interactions feeling confident they'll understand who they're dealing with. Then they meet you. You're not hiding anything. You're not playing mysterious or holding back information as strategy. You're simply not an open book because you don't believe in being an open book. You share what's relevant, what's appropriate, what serves genuine connection. You don't share everything because everything isn't for sharing. This selectivity reads as depth, and depth, to people accustomed to surface, feels like resistance. They try to figure you out. They study your reactions, analyze your word choices, look for patterns in your behavior. They ask questions designed to draw you out, share things about themselves, hoping you'll reciprocate in kind. They want to solve you, to categorize you, to feel they've got you figured out. They never quite succeed, not because you're intentionally elusive, but because you're genuinely multidimensional. There's always more beneath what you've shown, always another layer beneath the layer they've accessed, always depth beneath the depth they've plumbed. This drives some people crazy. They're used to reaching the bottom of others, finding the limits, knowing where the boundaries lie. With you, they never find the bottom. They keep discovering new dimensions, new complexities, new aspects of who you are that they never anticipated. What they don't understand is that you're not hiding these dimensions. You're just not rushing to display them. You let yourself be known over time, organically, in the context of genuine relationship rather than social performance. You trust that people who belong in your life will earn access to your depths gradually, and that people who don't will never need to see them. This patience with intimacy, this refusal to rush self-disclosure, creates an aura of mystery that isn't manufactured. It's simply the natural result of treating your inner world as sacred rather than public. And that sacredness draws people even as it keeps them at a respectful distance. There's something about you that people feel before they understand. An energy, a vibration, a frequency that registers before any words are exchanged. It's not mystical in the supernatural sense, though it can feel that way. It's actually quite practical. You carry yourself with a sense of direction that most people lack. You're not wandering through life, responding to whatever happens next. You're moving with intention, guided by something internal, oriented toward purposes that may not be fully visible to others. This orientation creates a kind of coherence. Your actions align with your values. Your choices reflect your priorities. Your energy isn't scattered across 100 competing directions. It's focused, channeled, directed. People feel this focus even when they can't see what you're focused on. They sense that you're aimed somewhere, moving towards something, pulled by forces they can't perceive. This creates a kind of gravitational field around you. They're drawn to your clarity, even as they're unsettled by not sharing. For most people, life is reactive. They respond to circumstances, meet expectations, handle whatever comes. Their energy is diffuse, scattered across the demands of the moment. Being around someone with genuine direction highlights the contrast. It makes them feel, perhaps the first time, how unfocused their own lives have become. This is why your presence can be both magnetic and uncomfortable. People are attracted to your clarity, while simultaneously feeling the weight of their own confusion. They want what you have without knowing how to get it. They admire your direction, while secretly hoping it doesn't make them feel too lost by comparison. Your purpose doesn't need to be grand or world-changing. It just needs to be real, genuinely yours, genuinely felt, genuinely lived. That authenticity of direction creates a frequency that others can feel. And that frequency makes you impossible to ignore. Finally, and perhaps most profoundly, your existence forces people to confront themselves. You don't do this intentionally. You're not trying to teach anyone anything or hold up a mirror to anyone's flaws. You're simply living your truth, walking your path, being yourself as fully as you know how. And that simple act of authentic existence creates a reflection that others cannot avoid. When people interact with you, they see their own compromises more clearly, their own fears, their own excuses, their own places where they've settled, given up, or chosen safety over growth. Not because you point these things out, you don't, but because your authenticity creates contrast in the presence of someone living genuinely. The places where we're not become painfully visible. Some people respond to this with inspiration. They look at you and think, if they can live that authentically, maybe I can too. They use your example as permission to examine their own lives, question their own compromises, and move toward greater alignment. These people become allies, friends, fellow travelers. Others respond with resistance. They look at you and feel threatened, exposed, diminished. They project their discomfort onto you, casting you as arrogant or judgmental or too much. They distance themselves, criticize you, try to reduce you to something they can dismiss, not because of anything you've done, but because your existence makes their internal contradictions unbearable. Neither response is really about you. Both are about what you represent. The possibility of living without masks, of walking without apology, of being fully oneself in a world that constantly demands you be otherwise. You didn't ask to be this mirror. You didn't seek the role of catalyst or example, but your commitment to authenticity has consequences beyond your awareness. Simply by being yourself, you create ripples. Simply by living your truth, you invite others to examine theirs. This is perhaps the deepest reason all eyes are on you. Not because you're performing, but because you're not. In a world of endless performance, genuine presence is the rarest and most compelling thing of all. Being the kind of person we've described isn't always comfortable. There are moments when you trade the attention for anonymity, the fascination for ease, the intensity for simple belonging. There are times when being unforgettable feels more like burden than gift. But here's what you need to understand. The attention you receive isn't really about you. It's about what you represent. The possibility of living differently, of being whole rather than fragmented, of moving through the world with intention rather than reaction. People watch you because you show them something they hunger for, even when that hunger expresses itself as resistance or resentment. Your task isn't to manage their reactions. It isn't to make yourself smaller so they feel less confronted, or to make yourself larger so they feel more inspired. Your task is simply continue becoming more fully yourself. To deepen your authenticity, strengthen your boundaries, clarify your purpose, and trust that your presence matters whether anyone acknowledges it or not. The people who need what you offer will find you. The people who can't handle what you represent will filter themselves out. And through it all, you'll keep growing, keep evolving, keep becoming more of who you actually are rather than who anyone expects you to be. That's the path of the chosen one. Not chosen by some external force or divine selection, but chosen by yourself, for yourself, in the ongoing commitment to live authentically in a world that constantly offers easier options. Stay on that path. The eyes will keep watching. The mind will keep wondering. The hearts will keep responding. And you'll keep walking. Not for them, but for yourself. And for the quiet knowing that your presence matters more than you'll ever fully know. If this reflection resonated with your experience, consider sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is letting others know they're not alone in their experience of being different. Subscribe for more explorations of authentic living, purposeful direction, and the path to becoming fully yourself.